All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Trying to do mid-season power rankings now, about halfway through the season. Most teams have played like 40 games, so I thought it'd be a good time to do a little power rankings. I haven't done any since preseason. You can go check that out. Did it beginning of the season, but yeah, let's get started. I think you got to start with the Denver Nuggets. Probably been the best team in the NBA so far. Just trying to find them real quick. Yeah, right here. Yep. So they've incorporated their pieces really well with Bruce Brown and KCP, even though they haven't even been fully healthy. Like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. have not been playing the whole season. They've been taking a lot of breaks between the season. But Jokic is playing at an MVP level. I think their offense is flowing well. I think they are top three in offense. The only thing, the only downside to their team right now is I think they're 23rd in defense, which could be a problem come playoff time. But in the regular season, they definitely look like the best team. They took care of the Celtics pretty easily, even with that big rim delay. It's like 30 minutes trying to fix the rim. But yeah, they've looked good against tough teams as well. So I think they're by far the number one team right now. And I think number two is probably the Boston Celtics. Um, Obviously, the way they started, they've slowed down a little bit, but they still have the best record in the East. They're still 1.5 game up on Brooklyn, um, and 2.5 games up on Milwaukee. So I think they are the best team in the East right now. They are the most balanced team in the East right now with Brogdon and Grant Williams, and they're just getting back Robert Williams as well. So yeah, Brogdon's I think, probably one of the leaders for Sixth Man of the Year. He's been a good fit as well. But yeah, I think Celtics number two, pretty easy pick. And I think it kind of goes, you could go either way, but I think I would go Memphis for number three. Jaren Jackson Jr. has looked incredible. I think he's should be the defensive player of the year, count in the defensive player of the year conversation. And if not winning, just because of his game time, because he just came back in early December, I think. Um, but yeah, he's been incredible. John Morant's been incredible. Obviously, Bane, he had a big injury, but he's come back and he's playing well. Even before his injury, he's playing almost at an all-star level. But unfortunately, because of the injury, probably won't make it. But yeah, uh, they look pretty good. Dylan Brooks is still a really good defender, and Steven Adams still, getting all those rebounds in the paint and controlling the paint. So yeah, Memphis is going to be a really tough team to deal with, and they try hard in the regular season. They play well, and they've incorporated some young guys as well with Santi Aldama and Gonchar and David Roddy, but just some glue guys, and they probably have the best backup point guard in the league as well, with Tyus Jones. So yeah, they're a really tough team in the regular season, and I expect that to continue. They should be fighting with Denver for that one seed. The next team I would probably say is the Milwaukee Bucks. Still gotta put them in that conversation. Just take out a row. But yeah, the Bucks should still be in that, championship conference finals conversation. Giannis is obviously incredible. Playing it like an MVP again. All these teams have MVP guys, right? The conversation is going to be really interesting, and we'll probably go, you know, it'll probably be only be decided after a full 82 games. I don't think anybody will take the lead. And it'll just be personal preference, to be honest. Like Jokic, Giannis, even Embiid, you know, even Donovan Mitchell, if he continues his crazy run, obviously had one of the best games of all time in his 71 point, I think 11 assists, 10 assists or 11 assists performance. But yeah, and I think that's the next team that I'm going to go to is the Cavs. Um, I might have put Brooklyn, but Brooklyn obviously KD's injured, might be out a month. It sucks because he was obviously in that MVP conversation as well. And I don't know if you guys saw, but the All Star forwards voting, I think it was Embiid, KD, and Giannis, which is crazy because Tatum might be second or third in MVP, but might not even start on the All Star team for the East. or get voted in as a Eastern starter. Um, Next team I would say is the Philly 76ers. They're probably in that conference. They have to be in that conversation as well. Um, Maxi's coming back. He looks pretty good. Sucks that he got injured at a beginning of the season, but it's good to see him coming back in for the stretch run. Obviously the second half of the season. And they're already 10 games over 500. So, they're going to keep pushing, maybe, try to even get a top two seed. They're 3.5 games back of Boston right now. But, yeah, I mean, Embiid is back playing at an MVP level. D'Anthony Mellon, I think, has been a really good player for them. He's knocking down a lot of threes, plays good defense. Yeah, I mean, they're just solid on the all over the place. Maxi, Harden, Tobias can give you some good games, um, even though he might not be worth the money. But yeah, and PJ Tucker always plays his role, good defender for them, and even Montrezl Harrell has been pretty solid coming off the bench. So I think Philly will continue to be in that conversation, and I think that's it for the top tier right now, just because of injuries. But in the next tier, I would probably go. Um, and you could see four of the top six are all in the East, and those four teams will, obviously along with Brooklyn, one of them won't even make it out the first round, which will be a huge disappointment, obviously for them. Right now, the 4-5 matchup is Philly and Cleveland. Uh, Maybe give the edge to Philly just because they're a bit more experienced. Um, and Philly having Embiid, probably the best player on the court, although Mitchell, like I said, is making his case. But yeah, let's continue for now. The regular season, mid-season power rankings. The next team I would probably have is the Dallas Mavericks. Hmm. I might go New Orleans actually. New Orleans have been playing well, even without Zion, even without Ingram. They obviously need them for the playoffs, but they're still third in the West. Um, all the teams jumbled up beneath them from like 4 through 10 is only like 2 games separation, but you know the third seed is 2 games separate from the fourth seed, which is the same amount to the ninth seed. So they're trying to stay above that pack of 4 through 9. They want to be in that top three. They would obviously their home court advantage is awesome. The team that's actually been one of the most fun teams to watch. They have so much depth with Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and even Najee Marshall is coming in, you know, scoring like 15 points at 15 to 20 points a game. Obviously, Alvarado has been, one of the best, guard defenders at his position, and one of the scrappiest players in the league. Saw that in the midseason survey. But yeah, they just have a good team with quality depth. Valanciunas is still carrying the load at center. And they get Larry Nance back. He was missing, I think, 5 or 6 games. Um, so yeah, I think that's their only weakness, probably at their big man. So I think they could make a trade, maybe if they wanted to, bring in another big man. Um, but yeah, they have so many wings. Obviously, CJ McCollum still, he's kind of carrying the burden right now for them, with Ingram and Zion out. But yeah, I mean, they're a dangerous team, and uh, I think most people didn't expect them to take the leap, this quick. But yeah, we'll see where they end up. The next team, I will probably go Dallas, just because of Luca. To be honest, he's had this crazy run at the end of December and beginning of January, um, and they're just obviously they're always dependent on him. Kind of reminds you of like the early LeBron Cavs of, they won a lot of games, but and they got far a couple times in the playoffs. Got to the conference finals, lost to the Magic, got to the conference semis, lost to the Celtics, I believe, 2010. So those early LeBron teams, obviously, this team has more talent than those teams, but I think it's just like the same type of, heliocentric ISO ball. He has to do pretty much everything. Like he had to score 51 just to beat the Spurs. It's a credit to him that he can still, he does carry that load, but um, yeah, I mean, it's just hard to see him do that all throughout the regular season and throughout 3 rounds of playoffs just to, give them a fighting chance. And it looks like we've already got, one, two, three, four teams in the West. So obviously a lot of teams, um, those teams will have the, home court advantage in the first round. But, obviously there's going to be more teams that are going to be disappointed if they don't make it out of the first round. The next team I would probably go is let's see, I might go for the Kings. Kings might be the most fun team to watch in the NBA this season. Obviously their offense is great with Fox and Sabonis and Malik Monk providing a spark off the bench sometimes. Kevin Huerter has been quality pickup. Sabonis has been a great fit for them. He looks like an all-star. They should have at least one all-star, either Fox or Sabonis. And Fox once again is putting in himself in the all-star conversation. It looks like a top 10 point guard. The depth of the point guard position is so deep, but he's definitely standing out in the way he's leading the team and the way he's making clutch baskets, to be honest. But yeah, the next team I would probably go is the Indiana Pacers. It's funny because those teams will always be kind of linked together because of the Halliburton and Buddy Hield trade for Sabonis. But I think it's one of those, key trades that makes both teams a lot better. They've been great fits at each of their respective teams. And Halliburton has been, masterful in orchestrating the offense, almost averaging, I think he's 20 and 10 right now, one of the leaders in assists per game. He's been a great 3-point shooter, even though, the form looks kind of weird. But yeah, I don't think anybody expected the Pacers to be this good. I think in the preseason, I think I had them maybe in the bottom tier, maybe the second, outside of the play-in. I know that for sure, in the Eastern Conference. So, they've been a great story. I don't think they will trade Buddy Hield and Miles Turner now just because they've already accumulated so many wins. Like I said, they're sixth in the East. Not even that far from, maybe catching, Philly or Cleveland for that top 4 seed, if they go on a run. And they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. So, it's not a fluke. So yeah, I think they've been the most surprising story. And I hope it continues. Indiana is a great place for basketball. And, Halliburton, he should probably get in the All-Star. I think he will get in the All-Star reserves probably this season. Maybe even a guard. Maybe even a starter as a guard alongside Donovan Mitchell. Kind of depends. Maybe Kyrie or trying to think who else. Maybe Jaylen Brown. But I think Halliburton should definitely be in that conversation, especially because he's basically the number one option on that team. He has to do, a lot of the heavy lifting for that team. Another next team I would probably go is the Miami Heat. It sucks that Hero's kind of injured now, but they're kind of finding their form now. I think they should be okay the rest of the season. Bam is continuing to be one of the best defensive players in the NBA. It'll probably be between Bam and Jaren Jackson and maybe Brook Lopez for Defensive Player of the Year, but obviously he's in that conversation. And Butler is still getting buckets. They had a nice comeback win over the Thunder last night. Recording this on Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, they're just creeping above 500 right now, and I think they should continue to get better with more playing time with their basically their big three with Hero, Butler, and Adebayo. They could make a trade with to upgrade their point guard position because Lowry, he's just he's fading away basically. He's obviously in his mid-30s and he's not going to get any better. So I think they could make a move this season, or else they might be kind of stuck in that first round exit or play-in even position. The next team I would probably go is the Knicks. They've actually been a fun story to watch. Jalen Brunson has been solid in improving their team, just being the steady point guard, setting everybody up. Randall has been on a tear, even though he had a really bad game recently, um, shooting wise at least. But yeah, I think, and it sucks that RJ is injured now too, because they just need him to be more consistent. I'd like this. The ceiling of their team will only rise with the RJ Barrett, basically, with their solid wing. But they just have a lot of good players with Quentin Grimes and um, even Jericho Sims providing some athleticism and defense off the bench. But yeah, it just they don't really have a two guard. I guess Grimes is their best option. Um, but yeah, Toppin's getting healthy. Randall needs to keep playing at that All-Star level. Like I said, the ceiling will probably be more advanced with Randall and Barrett playing at All-Star levels, but Randall's still a little bit inconsistent sometimes. Even though he's been playing at All-Star level the past 10, 15 games. And they're a couple of games above 500 right now, and they definitely want to, keep playing at that pace. The next team I would probably go is this is kind of the weird territory of the in-between teams that they've had some good streaks, but then they've had some bad streaks, such as the Clippers, the Hawks, the Bulls, um, even the Suns or the Warriors. Warriors maybe a little bit more due to injury. Although even though when they were healthy at the beginning of the season, they weren't lighting it up. So next team I would probably go is the Warriors. With Steph back healthy, obviously they should be in that upper tier conversation. But Jordan Poole's been good. He's been good when he starts. At least he doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't really play that well off the bench. I feel like I don't know if he's still getting used to it or what. Because while Steph was on the bench or out injured, he played extremely well, and they won a lot of games that people were surprised that they even won those games. Um, but yeah, like last night they got blown out basically by the Suns, without Chris Paul, without Devin Booker. So, and obviously they don't have Cam Johnson either. Um, but yeah, that was just a really weird loss for them, especially with Steph's first game back. You expect them to put up more of a fight, but yeah, I still have have belief in this team that they will turn it around. And we're already 40 games in. They already have 21 losses. So obviously they're not winning 60 games or anything like that. But if they can get to at least 50, I think that would be a good spot for them, because I feel like in the playoffs they're not really scared of anybody with that experience that they have. Obviously going to the finals so many times. So yeah, next team I would say is the team in a similar situation is probably the Clippers. They've had guys in and out of the lineup obviously all year. Probably one of the most disappointing teams to me, just because they're only one game above 500 right now, and you expect so much more out of this team with the amount of depth they have, with the amount of talent they have. But yeah, it just seems like they never really put it together and start trending in that upward direction. They have a couple of games that play well, then they falter and lose to the Hawks and blow like a 10-point lead in the last couple of minutes of the game. So yeah, I feel like they really need to just get healthy and pick a right direction, even though Clippers and healthy is not really a word that goes together probably the last 2 or 3 seasons. But yeah, Paul George is probably having an underrated season just because how inconsistent the team has been, but he's been a good all-star level quality player. Next I would probably go, like I said, this is probably the weirdest, the most inconsistent tier, just because these teams are all around 500, and there's actually so many teams around 500 that it's hard to put one above the other. But maybe right now I would probably take the Hawks, or I might even take the Bulls. Bulls and Hawks probably in that same group together. Both of these teams have a lot of talent, but it just hasn't been showing that much this season. Bulls are on more of an upward win streak because it looked like they were going to be, in that bottom tier of the league. Maybe look like they were going to trade some people, but Zach LaVine has picked it up. He's looking more of like a all-star level player again. And I think they're 8-2 or 8-3 in their last 11 games. Um, they're definitely picking it up, and they just need to keep that going. And DeRozan's probably been their best player. Um, they just need to find more consistency with Dasumu and Vucevic and even Patrick Williams. But yeah, same with the Hawks. Trae Young's been inconsistent as well, even though he's averaging, I think, like 27 and 10. They just he just hasn't been shooting the threes that well, and it shows in their offense. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the league right now. And I think they're 30th or they're definitely bottom five in the league in three pointers made and three pointers attempted. So it's just a weird team with so much talent with Bogdanovich and DeAndre Hunter and DeJounte Murray. I know DeJounte Murray is not the best shooter, but still you feel like they should get quality shots with the two good point guards on the floor almost at all times. Maybe they just need to play Trae a little bit off ball more, play him more in the Steph role. That's also up to Trae, his willingness, and that's something underrated about Steph, at how much effort he's willing to put in off the ball and screening, running around the court, getting himself open and getting other guys open. So, it's going to be hard. It's already, uh, smoke in terms of Nate McMillan's job, him wanting to resign. And I think there's an article recently about that. But yeah, I feel like he just needs the right coach to come in and tell him, you're best off the ball in these minutes, and you're best on the ball in these minutes. Like in crunch time, obviously you're gonna have the ball. It's similar with Steph Curry as well. Anyways, the next team I would probably go is the Utah Jazz. I would probably go Utah or even Minnesota or the Lakers. There's so many teams. Portland. Maybe we'll switch to the bottom five now and work our way up from there, because the worst team in the league by far is probably the Houston Rockets. It just seems like they have no, cohesion on offense. They have no chemistry. It's kind of your turn, my turn with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. Şengün has been a bright spot, but there's only so much he can do as like a 6'9" center. And especially the team is so young. Jabari isn't really getting the best shots, and he hasn't really been shooting that well this season. So, I'm looking forward to see how he does the rest of the season. But yeah, we just haven't really seen that many bright spots from him or Jalen Green, which is surprising. I think I picked Jalen Green as most improved, but yeah, he just hasn't shown it that much this season. He's maybe taking a lot of shots, but he hasn't really been hitting at an efficient rate, this year. And the next worst team, probably just because of Cade's injury and obviously their youth as well, is the Detroit Pistons. Ivy looks good sometimes, but then he looks really bad sometimes with too many turnovers and just being a bystander in the game. Maybe that's just because Killian Hayes has been doing well, so he doesn't know when to take reins of the point guard position. But Bogdanovich obviously has been their best player. I like Jalen Duren as well. He's been standing out as a good rebounder and just a good paint presence for them, especially offensively. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Bogdanovich. They did sign him to an extension, so yeah, they could get good value for him. But it depends how much they want to tank. I mean, they're already bottom of the East, so I feel like Bogdanovich isn't really helping them to too many wins, obviously. So it doesn't really. Maybe they see him as a good piece going in next year with Ivy, Cade, and maybe Victor and Bogdanovich. They could maybe make a big leap next season with that type of core. But yeah, the next team I would probably go is the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball has been, playing pretty well when he's come back from injury, but it sucks that he missed so much of the season. Might be better for their, draft pick odds, draft lottery odds, sorry. And then, Yeah, I mean, Rozier has been lighting it up offensively, but yeah, they just you can definitely tell that they play hard sometimes, but they just don't have the talent. Like Plumlee still plays hard, but yeah, they just don't have the talent to keep up with a lot of these teams, especially offensively. With the amount of scoring that there is in the league so far, and you see all these, 17 teams. They all have a lot of all-star quality players on their roster, and even those some of those teams are struggling on offense, like I said with Atlanta. So yeah, Charlotte will be obviously a contender for Victor or one of the other, top lottery prospects in the upcoming 2023 draft. And then next I would go is San Antonio. It sucks that I think Devin Vassell, he had a big injury recently and he'll be out for a while. It sucks that I actually liked the way he was playing this year. Him and Keldon Johnson were actually some fun duo to watch. One of those duos that you just want to see how they're playing and how they're progressing through the last couple of years. But yeah, Trey Jones has actually been a decent point guard, and Jakob Pertl still plays hard. But like I said with Charlotte, they just don't have enough talent and enough experience to be competing with the already super deep NBA. Overall, it feels like everybody says like, oh, they've just gone through a tough schedule, like almost every team. I think we heard that about the Lakers in the beginning of the year, and then we heard that about, you know, um, Bulls and Hawks and even the Grizzlies and the Celtics that, oh, they just came through a tough schedule. It's because basically there's 25 teams that consider themselves like playoff teams. So every team is going to be a tough schedule. Like we saw with Miami last night, that Thunder win was not easy at all. And Thunder 13th in the West. So yeah, it's just a battle pretty much every night. Unless you're facing basically one of these bottom four teams, it's pretty much going to be a battle every night to get wins. So next, I would go. Hmm, I'd probably go Thunder, even though Thunder and Magic, the Magic have a worse record than them by a couple games, but I just think OKC will probably slow down their wins a little bit now that the second half of the season is coming. Even though Shea might, he probably will be an All Star this season. I think he definitely deserves it. He's averaging like 30 points a game. But after All Star break, I feel like they might shut it down a little bit and let hopefully get a better draft pick. Just because if you look at their roster, he's like Kenrich Williams, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, like some of those are good young guys, but it's obvious that they just don't have the talent to compete, especially in the crunch time of the games. But yeah, so was that five teams? Let's see, I would probably. I mean, you got to put the Magic in this tier as well. Um, even though they showed some flashes, I think they had like an 8-game winning streak about a month ago. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just tough when you have so many young guys with Franz and Paolo and even Fultz. Like he doesn't really have that much experience playing in the NBA yet. Um, Although I do think he has looked good when he has come back from his injury. And Franz and Paolo obviously are good young pieces to build around, and along with Wendell Carter Jr. Um, but yeah, they just are not going to take the next step this season. Like I said, with the super deep Eastern Conference, where you have Toronto and you have Washington, who are outside of the playoff race, and you could argue that they have at least one All Star on their roster, um, if not, two max guys that they believe that should be helping them win. So I think the next I would probably go. I think that's good enough for that tier. That bottom tier, kind of know who the bottom tier is in the NBA right now. Um, and the rest of these teams are basically, like I said, all fighting for the play-in. Next team I would go is the Minnesota, or I would say Minnesota or Utah, but it's kind of just personal preference right now. Um, but I think Anthony Edwards has been, obviously he's not been as consistent as people hope for, but him and Rudy Gobert are still keeping them afloat right now while Towns is out. and they're just hovering around 500. But it's kind of disappointing, obviously, to see the team, play that poorly throughout this first half of the season. And I'm sure they're disappointed with where their seating is at. The next team, I would probably go the Lakers, just with LeBron healthy, and LeBron's still playing fantastic, even at his 20th season. He's about to break the scoring record probably in about a month. Um, Even Thomas Bryant has been playing well as a good backup for AD while he's been out. So, yeah, I think the Lakers deserve. They're not as terrible as probably the bottom group anymore, but they're not in that top tier yet, or even in that middle tier yet. Although I think they have been showing signs of progression, and even now Austin Reeves is injured, Lonnie Walker's been injured, but Westbrook's been solid six man off the bench. I think he's definitely not in the six man of the year conversation, but uh, he's not been as terrible as he was last in his first season with the Lakers. Next team I would probably go is Utah. They still have one of the best offenses in the league. There's just their defense. Markkanen will probably be an all-star this season, and I think Clarkson has been, really a standout guard for them this season, and probably would be getting more hype if the position wasn't already so loaded. So yeah, I think even Walker Kessler, the rookie, has been doing a solid job of rim protecting. Kind of makes you think that like he's basically doing 75, maybe 70% of what Gobert does, but a rookie year, as a bottom of the first round pick. But obviously they kind of made a mistake. I mean, they benefited from that trade, and they got all they could get for Rudy Gobert, and they're definitely reaping the benefits of it, if not just this year, but obviously in the years to come with all those picks that they got. All these four teams are probably disappointed with where they're at, but unfortunately, they're like I said, the West. I mean, both conferences are so loaded. So yeah, I'd probably take Phoenix. It just sucks that Paul and Booker are injured. Booker more so. He was probably one of the best, shooting guards in the league, and I think he won Conference Player of the Month for the first month of the season, throughout the first month of the season. So that's a big hit for them, and they're still obviously missing Cam Johnson, and it's basically just Bridges and Ayton trying to carry at this point. But they've got valuable contributions from players like Torrey Craig and even Damian Lee. Like we saw last night, they blitzed the Warriors and they could barely miss a shot. But yeah, next team I would put is probably Toronto. Toronto is another one of those teams that probably needs to decide whether they actually want to go for the playoffs or even the play-in, or just try to trade and maybe trade VanVleet, trade Gary Trent, get some picks for those guys, and maybe bottom out this year, because it won't be hard to get in that bottom seven. They're already 11th in the East, so they're not obviously not that far from. They're only 2.5 games ahead of the Magic. I forgot to mention with the Magic, Isaac is finally coming back. Maybe next week. He's been playing some G League games this week, so it'll be interesting to see if they should go for that 11th or 10th seed with a play-in. Obviously, they have some good teams ahead of them. It'll be hard to catch them. But yeah, Toronto's definitely in a weird spot right now, and same with the Wizards. Beal's I think hurt right now, keeps injuring his hamstring or his groin, and he just keeps missing games here and there, and it really sucks because I feel like they never really got to see their team healthy. When their team was healthy in the beginning of the year, they actually played pretty well with Beal, Porzingis, Kuzma, Hachimura, all healthy. And now Hachimura's come in, and now Beal's got injured. So it kind of sucks that they never really got to see their team fully healthy at the same time. I feel like they have some good pieces. Like if you watch them, you wouldn't think they're a bad team, but they're just 12th in the East, just because there's so many good teams ahead of them. And then the Blazers. Man, they started off so well, but it sucks to see that they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Um, they lost to the Magic last night. Magic actually had a really good performance with Franz going off, but yeah, Blazers just a little bit disappointing this year after their good start. Uh, Lillard and Simons, they look like they should be a top, one of the top backcourt duos in the league. Yeah, but yeah, they just can't put together that many wins. I think Jeremy Grant has been a good, good acquisition for them that they did. I think it was last midseason last year, uh, or maybe in the summer last year. But yeah, I don't. It's just like I said, the West is so deep as well. I think you expect maybe Utah to fall out, but like you don't really see that many teams falling. Like you'll see if you just look at the standings, like which of these teams in these top three tiers do you expect to see fall that much that these other teams can jump in unless they make a significant move, a significant trade that bolsters their bolsters their talent. You don't really see that much of a upgrade and where this team can where these teams can improve. Obviously, it's Phoenix, one of those teams that's going to improve when Booker comes back, but and Lakers with AD. That's only hopes that these teams have is that um, they're healthy, their players get healthy, and they just come back, ready to go in the second half of the season, especially after the All Star break. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the midseason power rankings. Let me know what you guys think. There's obviously a lot of you know, changes I can make within these probably two tiers right here at B and C. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and thanks for listening. Like and subscribe the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time.